think you've got a lot of guys in that locker room that are frankly just kind of tired of getting disrespected. And so they wanted to come out and make a statement. And so they dominated in every facet of the game. I mean, to score a 92-yard touchdown on your opening drive in 7 plays without 2 of the best receivers in the NFL and just making it look easy. And then to get, they get a pick 6, and then they get a punt return for a touchdown. I mean, they had to. They said, we're gonna go out and we're gonna control all 3 aspects of the field, and that's exactly what they did. And I think this is one of those. I think they expect to dominate every preseason game, and then we'll hit the regular season. The start of the schedule is a little challenging, but if they can start off, 3-1. I think they're going to be off to the races because the back half of the schedule gets significantly lighter in the pants, if you will, with some games against teams that, especially by the end of the season, should be out of it. I think for the Browns, this is just going to be a matter of do they stay healthy. There's just so much talent on that team. And then to get guys like Greedy Williams and Mac Wilson well below their draft estimate in the second round, late in the second round, and in the 5th. I mean, you can't make this stuff up where they're just like the luck has been on the Browns lately. So, they wanted to come out, they wanted to make a statement, they wanted to show everybody we're not going to be taken lightly.
Of course, there again, it's a lot of people like to call preseason pretend football. I know it means a lot more to the team itself, but yeah, it is good to get out there and make a statement. Talking about making a statement, let's talk about Nick Chubb. Obviously, Nick Chubb is a very productive, underpaid player. Not this year, we're not seeing a whole lot, but it could come in the future. Where do we look at with Nick Chubb, his productivity with the team? And he is underpaid.
Well, I mean, he's on a rookie contract. So, I mean, any rookie that outperforms their slot is technically underpaid. You don't start really looking at contract extensions until they've only got about a year left on their contract. So, I mean, I think that the Browns will take care of Chubb when the time comes. There's actually a lot of talk already in Cleveland about a lot of the big-name players already talking about taking less than their position would typically require just so that they can stay together. It's a very and that's headlined by Baker. It's a very New England-y feel if they can get that to happen and keep Baker Mayfield and Odell and Jarvis and Nick Chubb and Denzel Ward and Jarvis Landry and Greedy Williams and Myles Garrett, and I mean the list just goes on. So if they can do that, then guys are taking less because they want to win. That changes everything. But I think they will take care of Chubb. I know that Baker has actually helped Nick Chubb get he's lined up a few local endorsements for him because Nick is not someone that is wanting to do endorsements on a regular basis, but they've started some local deals, contracts and things like that together. So I don't think you have to worry about Chubb. Chubb just wants to go play football.
Well, football he will play, and he will play along Baker Mayfield and a lot of other what we know to be is either potentially really good superstars or those that have proven themselves to be superstars in the NFL are now all on the Browns. How does Hugh Jackson keep it all reined in? As we talked a little bit about last year's Pittsburgh Steelers and the soap operas that reign, and that's what happens when you have a lot of big personalities with a lot of big egos and a lot of big contracts and a lot of nobody ever telling them no. So you've got that potential to happen. How does Hugh Jackson not get that firecracker lit so that the big super mega stars, along with the potential super mega stars like Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, for example, that's going to come colliding if it's not reined in properly. How does Hugh Jackson control the locker room to have a productive season so that the attention is on the wins like you guys had? You did make a statement and build on that, but certainly we saw it's not isolated to the Browns, but because it was the Browns and because there were so many big news around the Browns right now, you guys are getting a lot of national attention, and we saw tempers flare in camp and practice. So Hugh Jackson's got to kind of keep it reined in. How's he do that?
Well, for one, Hugh Jackson got fired last year because he was horrible, worst coach in NFL history. How does Freddie Kitchens handle it? I think.
Oh my God, I'm so stupid. But go ahead.
I think Freddie went out and did something smart. First off, tempers.
That was my mind. I'm so used to saying Jackson with the Browns. So my sword. Kill me now. Go ahead.
But tempers always flare.
You're never allowed on the show again, Adam. Never again are you allowed on the show again. I'm kicking you out for the fantasy team too, by the way. Go ahead. I'm just playing with you.
But yeah, no. I mean, tempers always flare in training camp. Teams are tired of hitting each other, but they want to hit somebody, so they always flare up. Freddie did something I've never seen. As soon as tempers flared up, he said that will lose us a game. He made everybody run gassers, and it just set the tone. The other thing that's been smart that Freddie did is he brought in experienced coaches across the board. Steve Wilkes, defensive coordinator, was a longtime defensive coordinator for the Panthers, head coach last year for the Cardinals, who kind of got a raw deal. And then they brought in Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator for Tampa Bay, who a lot of people don't realize. Tampa Bay had a top 5 offense last year. Then he also brought in James Campen from Green Bay to run the offensive line. Adam Henry, the former LSU wide receivers coach, who's been in the league now for a few years, was Odell and Jarvis's wide receivers coach, is running that room. So I think the thing is when you have coaches that know how to respect players and know how to really read a locker room, which is what we have, I don't think you're really gonna worry about that. You couple that with veterans that really do like each other. They like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is an amazing leader, but then you also have guys like Joe Thomas, the all-world, all-time offensive tackle that works, doesn't get paid for it, but basically still hangs out at the Browns facility. He loves working with the offensive line, trying to help them get better. So, when you have those kind of presences around the locker room, that is what can really make, when you see big personalities, those guys all buy in together. And when it's headlined by a big personality like Baker, and Baker just controls the room, and anywhere you've ever heard, whether it was Oklahoma or last year with the Browns, it was this guy is the consummate leader. That was the thing that stood out for him. He's going to primarily help run and manage that locker room. And despite whatever Colin Cowherd wants people to think, Baker Mayfield isn't some idiot frat boy. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. You got a lot of dudes that, yes, they have big personalities, but they want to win, and they want to win bad.
Well, certainly they have the potential to do it with Odell Beckham Jr. We haven't really talked a lot about him being there other than just, that he's there. What's he look like in camp, or is there a good chemistry between Baker and Odell Beckham Jr. Also, I mean, the partner in crime there is Jalen Strong. How is Baker Mayfield doing as far as chemistry in camp and getting that together so that they're all in sync on the same page? And I would think that would be a little bit more difficult with Odell Beckham Jr. than Jalen Strong.
Well, even with when Baker was in college, Baker's senior year in Oklahoma, he actually worked out with Jarvis when Jarvis was with Miami, and with Odell when Odell was with New York. They all worked out together in the summertime. So they've actually been working out together, and they worked out together last year. They've been working out together for a few years. And then it just so happened that they all came together on the same team. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. Jarvis and Odell were roommates. And then you just throw in a lot of the other depth. Rashad Higgins had a really good first preseason game, which just continued on how he ended the year last year. He's the third receiver. David Njoku is continuing to make good steps in his progression and his development at tight end. They have a host of other guys. Antonio Callaway, when he comes back from a suspension. As you had mentioned, Jalen Strong, they brought over, who's just that 6'5", just big-bodied receiver. They brought him in. You see Derek Willies, who was an undrafted free agent last year, but is an absolute burner. He's having a good camp. The thing is when you have a quarterback like Baker, everybody has a good camp. And then Odell just makes everyone better. The one thing that's been praised is his work ethic. He is always the first person there in that wide receiver room, last one to leave. Every day after practice, he takes before and after practice, he takes 100 balls off the jug machine and catches it one-handed. Those one-handed catches he makes aren't a fluke.
Well, that's because that's his signature. That's his thing.
It is his thing, but it's his thing.
I mean, really, honestly, we joke about it, but that's really what everybody who is not really a big sports fan knows. Well, Odell Beckham Jr., that's the guy with the Giants that caught the touchdown with one hand. So, yeah, he's like the drummer with Def Leppard with one arm. Go ahead.
and he does that, but the thing is that those one-handed catches are like, wow, but those would be incompletions with other receivers. But they're not, because Odell practices them, and he works his butt off in the offseason to make those catches. So, I think you're going to see a more focused and a more determined Odell than we've ever seen from New York, because Eli's so at the end of his career. He should have retired 2 years ago, but he's hung on. So, I just think that'll be. I expect lower potentially yardage numbers from Odell this year, just because of the host of other receivers around him. But I think you're going to have more touchdowns. Like, I'm thinking he's probably going to get between 15 and 16 touchdowns, just because they can't double team them anymore. Like, you can't double team anyone on this offense, otherwise you're going to get burned.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Your center, J.C. Tretter, your center, obviously a veteran, drafted in 2003 by the Packers, been around for a while. Picture went out on Twitter this past week of him giving Baker Field a big hug, and so they seem to have the good chemistry there, and I think that's important when you have an experienced center like that, like J.C. Tretter. But I guess the bigger question about Baker Mayfield, what's going on with the stash?
Hey man, Baker loves to have fun, and it's not just Baker. It's like the whole quarterback room are wearing these like 80s Tom Selleck mustaches. And you know what? I'm here for it. I'm growing out the Baker beard, so whenever he decides to come back, we're ready for him.
The Burt Reynolds Boogie Nights stash.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam Jivden, Super Browns fan. Adam, looking ahead to Week 1 coming up here in just a few short weeks, and of course Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's get your thoughts on both of that. Week 1 of the Ohio State Buckeyes and Week 1 of the Cleveland Browns.
Well, so we'll start with the Browns just staying here. I think, against the Titans, I just don't think Tennessee has the offensive firepower to stay up with them. I know that they're a good defense. Tennessee is one of those teams that kind of just wears on you as the season goes on. Well, when everybody's fresh, I think they're going to come out. I think they're going to the Browns are going to be hyper-focused and continue to try to make a statement to the league. I would say something in the vein of, and I think Myles Garrett is going to wreak havoc, especially if Taylor Lewan, who's appealing his suspension, if Taylor Lewan's not out there, good luck. Myles Garrett's gunning for the Defensive Player of the Year award this year, and a man built like that, when he's been that motivated for about 8 months, good luck. I think the Browns are going to win